What's going on, everybody? We are here on our Tuesday sessions. This is I look forward to this every single week. This is one of my favorite parts of the week, is getting to hang out and mastermind with everybody. So what we wanted to do today is, in like the true art of the mastermind, kind of wanted to get Jason's perspective on a couple things and then just throw it out to everybody else. But there's really 4 things that I want everybody to take away from today. So number 1, scripting. I want you to really get that narrative straight. What are you saying to the people who are telling you the market is changing? I'm sitting this one out. I'm waiting. I want you to really walk away with some good objection handlers. Number 2, strategies on staying proactive and things that you can do in a changing market to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. Number 3, we're going to talk a little bit about managing listings for a long haul. Just 2 or 3 tips. If you're sitting there holding listings right now, what are 2 or 3 things that you can do today that maybe other people in your marketplace aren't? And the 4th rapid fire item we're going to talk about is market corrections. Sorry, I apologize, market corrections, pricing corrections. So if you're sitting on a listing and maybe it's a little bit high, what does that conversation with your sellers look like? So we're going to rapid fire those 4 pieces. This is going to be a piece of content that you are going to want to save and watch again and again and again until the market changes later on down the road. So Jay, number 1, the market is going to tank. Handle that.
You know what, Joe? Thanks for saying that. It's funny how, the media can really create this crazy panic and fear in people. So can I ask you, Joe, what makes you believe that that's going to be the case?
Honestly, I'm just seeing interest rates rise. Houses are sitting for a little bit longer. And for me, I'm going to wait because I think it's going to get worse.
Okay. You know what, Joe? That's not a bad, it's not a kind of bad assumption that you're making there. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way. Can I tell you, though, what my thoughts are and what's going on in the market?
Yeah, for sure.
Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of smart money. And when I talk about smart money, I'm talking about people like, for example, do you know who Warren Buffett is?
I do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know this, but he's sitting on 25% of all their holdings are in cash at the moment. And he is starting to get ready to deploy capital. So what happens is when you have these panic sell-offs in housing and real estate and all these things in the stock market, is you have opportunity that gets created. And so what I'm telling anybody is, like, keep your head in the game, stay focused on keeping an eye on opportunities. Because what we're starting to see is opportunities for buyers. For sellers, there's opportunity as well. For example, let's say you're selling a townhouse right now for $600,000. That same townhouse, maybe you would have got $700,000 for it 4 months ago, but now you're buying a house for $1 million. That same house was 1.2 million that 4 months ago. You're actually doing better. You're buying instant equity into that property. So if you're doing a lateral move in the market, it's more focusing on your needs. But if you're thinking about, like, overall, like, oh my God, the world is going to fall apart. Listen, recessions happen. This is something that's not the first time and it won't be the last. That's when some of the best wealth is created. So if I were you, Joe, as I would keep focused on keeping an eye on opportunities. You don't have to jump on anything, but let's stay focused and keep our eyes out. Because what I'm seeing is buyers are now getting some opportunities that a year ago they would have died for. And my personal belief is, when people are fearful, that's when I get greedier. And when people are really when people are really greedy, that's when I'm a little bit more fearful and I stay back. We're in that market now where we're starting to see the pendulum wanting to shift towards people being fearful. And I'm the type of person, I'm getting ready to be a little more greedy, and I'm looking to buy some things at better value. And I'm a long-term investor, right? I always look for the long-term value in things. So if I can buy things right now at a better discount, that's what I'm going to focus on doing. So let's just stay focused on what's going on in the market. And we're going to get through this just like we have any other time in history we've had recessions.
I love that. It's funny. You said the same word 6 times. Do you know what that word was? Opportunity. 6 times you just said the word opportunity. And I think it's really important for people to understand that it's changing your narrative. There's a lot of people that are like doom and gloom. They don't see that opportunistic side. What an amazing time for buyers right now, right? That market is shifting. And for anybody who has taken the time and sat there and calculated the absorption rate for your average price point in your market, you'll see that we're actually moving towards that balanced market. from where we were 3 weeks ago, a month ago, right? So we're moving closer to that piece, and it's opportunity, right? So let's take a second. Let's open it up, Jay. Is there anybody else who's having these conversations? What are you guys saying that's working?
You guys must be hearing this.
A lot similar to Jason, right? Like the good thing is a lot of the buyers are protected still with interest rates being locked in, right? But I do think that there's going to be a little bit of a surge as interest rates increase, as they get closer to those rates expiring. There might be a little bit of sense of urgency, because if they have to go through that pre-approval process, their purchasing power is going to be less. Chatting with sellers, I'm like, man, you guys are still winning. Like if we talk like a year ago, you're still winning. You're making so much more money, right? So that's another bonus as well compared to what we've been going through, right? Discussing how what we were doing 6 months ago, 5 months ago with multiple offers. Pricing is so important, right? So having the right price points in marketing is so key, because we're not seeing the multiple offers like we used to. There's still the odd one, but setting that with those expectations up front is so key to the sellers, and also those buyers, making sure that they're pre-approved, making sure that they're doing the right strategic moves throughout the process. And it's reassuring for buyers that now they can put conditions on. We are looking at the odd time clause discussions at least, right? Which is kind of like, geez, how do we do that again? It's been years, right? So there's a lot of, like Jason said, like you, Joe, there's so much opportunity out there. It's still amazing. And it's like, would you rather be a renter or would you rather be an owner? Right. And those are really key points that I try to hammer home.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Man. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else have any perspective?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah. Shoot, Ryan.
I mean, everybody tries to time the market. And so I think if we stop talking about real estate like it's a stock for a second and go back to the personal motivations of people too. So when you're dealing with a buyer or when you're dealing with a seller, I think the conversations are very different. When you're dealing with a buyer, and somebody comes in and says, hey, what's happening with the market right now? It's not really a question about the market, is it? It's a question about, hey, I've got a house I want to sell, or I got a house I want to buy. I got a personal motivation I'm trying to talk to you about. So, my first response when a buyer comes through my open house or says that to me is I say, you know what, the market's probably the most interesting I've seen in a really long time. But before I get into the market, what has you looking at a property right now? Right? Going right back to that personal motivation, because guaranteed everybody's trying to time the market and it's impossible to do it. So stop trying to do that. And let's go back to why you're here, right? Go back to those personal motivations as a buyer and remind them that life isn't going to stop just because the market has decided to take a correction, right? So that's one side. And then on the selling side, I try and explain to people that if pricing is moving downwards on a trend, think of it as a trend line that's going down. If you continuously sit behind the trend line that's going down, you're going to chase it to the bottom. So 2 ways of dealing with that is either get aggressive with your list price and get in front if you intend to sell. If you're not serious about selling, then that's going to provoke that conversation, right? And you can go 2 ways with it. You can say, hey, look, I'm fine to hold your listing, but I'm going to write it for a year, right? Or a minimum 6 months. I'm not doing any 3-month listings because there's just that the market's not going to correct in that time frame. So, I'm trying to get my sellers ahead of the curve. That's the main conversation that I'm having, and allowing them to see that they'll make up the opportunity on the buy.
Love that.
I love that.
Yeah. Good perspective. Get ahead of it. Right.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely amazing perspective. And I love coming at it from again, not looking at it from like a stock ticker perspective, but going back to that personal connection. Mm-hmm. Some of the things that we coach to, we help a lot of our new agents along with is, that very common question, like, how's the market? It's an amazing question, right? If you have a button on your shirt that says, realtor,
yeah.
At some point, 30 people in like a 10-minute span are going to ask you, how's the market? And, again, like a lot of people respond with, oh, it's crazy out there. I'm so busy. Houses over $1 million aren't. They're not moving, right? It's not like it was. Market's changing. And put this like doom and gloom and that narrative out there, and people believe that.
But that's what everyone says. Everyone's saying that, right? So you have an opportunity to be a little different. and speak to their personal motivations like you give a shit.
So let me challenge you, Ryan. Hit me with that question. Ask me how the market is.
Hey, Joe. Sorry, are you a realtor, Joe?
Absolutely. 100%.
The market's pretty turbulent right now. I'm thinking about buying, but I just don't know what's happening. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
You know what? Thank you so much for asking me that question. I love it when people ask that. It's funny. The market is very segmented. You've got your buyers, your sellers, and your renters. And it sounds like you're most interested in buying. So your question is about buying. Is that more on behalf of yourself or a friend or a family member?
Judge, to be completely honest with you, man, we had a kid about 6 months ago. My life has kind of changed a lot, but I'm really, trying to think maybe I'll just make it work in my one bed for a little bit here until the market kind of improves and I can buy. I don't know. What do you think?
You know what? Great point. So it sounds like space is a bit of an issue for you right now.
Oh yeah.
If I'm hearing that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'd love to say we can sit here and we can wait for the market to have this perception of correction. But again, I don't think that's going to help you in the meantime. So what else is it about your place that might not be working for you other than the space?
Well, we all share one bathroom and there's 3 people. Well, now there's 3 people sharing one bathroom. That's not working for me anymore. And generally speaking, I also have to work from home half the time. So the constraints I've got still, they're real.
Okay, so let's just pause for a sec.
Yeah.
Who did most of the talking?
I did.
Well, right. How does that happen? Like you asked me what the market was, yet you're the one doing the talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it values based. Ask great questions. And just Ryan, just like you said, man, it's not about the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's got nothing to do. That's the precursor to the conversation.
Yeah.
It's about what are you doing to add value inside of each individual's situation, really.
Totally.
Love that, man. Yeah, thanks.
Totally.
Thanks for sorry, I put you on the spot there, but
it's fine. When do I not get put on the spot?
yeah, pretty well. Pretty well. On the spot, under a bus, whatever. Love it.
Hey, Joe, can I share something real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to share my screen really quick, just for some of you that are going to have conversations with people. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick little illustration to kind of help you guys work through things. And I'm just going to use some random price points and you guys can do the math on this. But let's just say in Ryan's case, he's an upsizer, right? Ryan's got a life event and you're looking now to buy a bigger home because you need more space for your child. Okay. So let's just say your place is worth 650,000 in Vancouver. That's, I don't know, possible, right? Like maybe a condo or possibly a townhouse. But let's just say your place is 650,000 now, which let's just say that it's gone down 10% in value. Okay. But you're looking to upsize. So you're actually buying and selling in the same market and you're looking to upsize and get like a single family home. Let's just say that single family home is 1.2 million, which again, I may be off in your market, but giving you an illustration here. Okay. I did the math on this for you guys. Ryan, yes, your place is worth, say, 65,000 less than it was maybe 4 months ago. Okay. Mm-hmm. But the place that you're buying is now 120,000 less than that same time frame, which means you're getting a net gain of $55,000, just to give you some context from a pricing perspective. So here's the deal. Yeah, you could sit there and try and cram into your space, but it's not going to work for your family. We both know that, right? Let's get your home sold so you have your money in hand, right? Maybe negotiate a longer completion date, but let's go find you the family home that's going to suit your family. Let's make sure the payments work with what you guys need and everything else. But like you're actually gaining equity right now by making a purchase decision. And the cool thing is you're not going to be fighting with 10 other buyers now. We're actually going to be able to go in and negotiate better deals for you. So try and like rationalize things with people. Because here's what happens when people start using fear, they become irrational and they don't make good decisions. Nobody makes good decisions when they're in an irrational state. Our jobs is to be that person that helps people make logical, rational decisions. And you guys have to understand that media is funded and paid for by special interest groups, right? Companies want these headlines of like the market's going to crash. Guess what? There's a small percentage of people that are just sitting there salivating with money in hand, wanting to see all of us sheep panic and sell off irrationally so that they can move in and buy the same stuff that they could have bought a year ago for a fraction of the price. That's how things work, right? So understand that, guys. Help your clients understand that listening to media headlines is not rational and isn't going to help them make the best decisions. Be the authority in your market that can help them rationalize what's really going on. And I got to say, I'm going to give a plug to Ryan and Dan, Ryan Dash and Dan Wordle. They run an awesome podcast, guys. Listen to their podcast. Every week they run a podcast and they talk about the market. And I really think that you guys do an excellent job of doing that. So if you guys aren't paying attention, go and look at Ryan Dash. It's called the Vancouver Life Podcast. Am I right, guys?
Vancouver Life Real Estate Podcast.
Vancouver Life Real Estate Podcast. Go and check them out. And I encourage you guys to do something similar in your market, because I'll tell you, these guys are becoming authorities in that Vancouver market. And the information is excellent. The way they deliver it in a balanced manner where it's like they're not ignoring the signs of what's happening, but they're being rational about how they're doing it. And I can tell you that I read the comments and a lot of the feedback you guys get is very positive. I don't know if you guys want to quickly touch on that, but I think that is going to be something that every one of you should be striving for right now, is being a beacon of hope for people and like an authority in information for your market.
Yeah. I mean, the whole purpose of the podcast is to educate people really at the end of the day about where the truth lies. And what that byproduct is like what Jason says, you become an authority in the space, right? Like I'll host an open house and I have people now that will come through the open house and be like, hey man, I listened to your podcast last week. And like, or even more interestingly, like 3 months ago, I was listening to your podcast and you were saying that interest rates were going to rise before other people called it. And it's like, well, yeah, because you just have to understand what's going on. You look at the metrics and realize some things are getting a little out of hand here, and tell people where it's going to go. Right. But and I just released on my social page today. So if you go to my Instagram, I literally released all of the media headlines from the Bank of Canada in the last 2 weeks. And you can see it's just pure fear mongering from top to bottom. And I point out all of the bullshit, right? And saying to people, this is where you get left holding the bag. You are going to get left holding the bag if you listen to this shit. And somebody like myself, or people who are educated, people who do their own decentralized media, are going to take advantage of this situation. And that is where the opportunity lies. So that you become not only a beacon of hope, but the authority in your space. And then when people actually come and see you, you don't have to do any convincing anymore. They already want to work with you, right? And it just accelerates that whole process.
And the other thing too, that a video does is it's working while you're sleeping for you guys. People are consuming your content while you guys are doing other things. People are consuming your content and they're building trust and authority with you and an affinity with you, and it works. So again, this is going to be a strategy when Joe probably asked me about this later, like some of the things we're doing. Your information and literally being omnipresent out there with like having positive messages and helping people interpret what's actually going on in your local markets and expertise. That is what people are going to be looking for. That listing agent that has no skills, that overpriced a client's house and it's been sitting on the market for 90 days and it's not selling and they're not hearing from their agent. Who are they going to call to come save the day? They're going to call the people that they see as authorities, that they trust. You guys haven't seen that for a couple of years, but that's coming. People are going to start looking for different options because, again, a lot of agents aren't skilling up right now when they should be, and they're not going to be able to have the conversations.
Go ahead, I can just end on one last thing. Jason, one thing you preached to us when we first started getting coached was people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So the whole podcast that we're building is around people that they know, that they end up liking because they trust them. Right? That's the whole premise. Then when people walk through the door, that whole qualifying is already done. And you have such an advantage.
Nice. I want to hear, is there one other person maybe that has a perspective, maybe like veterans like Deb Lucci or somebody like that? I would love to hear what your thoughts are on what we're about to go through. She disappeared. Anyways, back to the Joe Schmo show.
So next, really quickly touching on, so Jay, what do you think are your top two things that people can do to stay proactive in this market? And I think you touched on one, was getting out there, creating content, being omnipresent.
Yeah, 100%. You need to have a communication strategy right now, and you need to be over communicating information. Saturating your market with information is not a bad thing right now, right? Like I would 100% be all over YouTube. I would be making sure my client list is getting at least a video a week from me. I would be making sure that my Instagram, my TikToks, my Facebook, everything is getting consistent information. And I'm talking about what's going on in the marketplace locally. I'm talking about, opportunities. I'm talking in a balanced manner, but I'm also talking about opportunity because again, when everybody else is buying and like people are creating these like bubbles, like those aren't always the best times to be taking action. Sometimes it's when everybody else is panicked and frozen. That's when you jump in. Summertime is a good time to buy in a lot of cases too. If you're working with buyers, like July and August, people kind of tune out for a bit and they go and camping, they start doing trips and they start getting outdoors. Those are some of the best times to go in and get deals on houses. Honestly, you can negotiate more because you have less buyers you're competing with. So again, getting those rational things out there, being able to like interpret your market too, like understand that there's going to be different segments of your market that are going to be impacted differently. Speak to those. So that'd be number one, Joe, is I would be all over having a communication strategy and plan right now more than ever. Be that person that people are like, I really like this person's content and I'm seeing them everywhere, because when things don't work out with their agent, and it's going to happen a lot, they will call you. I promise you. I've done this before. I've seen it happen. Second thing is every single one of your past clients right now needs to hear from you one-on-one. You should be calling every single one of your past clients and having a conversation and checking, how are you doing? What's new and exciting in your world? And then having time to have a real estate conversation. Talk about, hey, what are some of the things that you've been thinking about real estate wise? I know you're probably seeing some of this craziness in the media headlines. What questions do you have? And start like talking to them about what's going on. Because again, some of your smart money clients are sitting there in a position where they can capitalize, right? And again, when everybody's fearful, they need to be a little greedier. And that may be the message that you start having to some people, but start talking to every single one of your past clients. It's super critical right now. You need to double down on your proactive actions, of course, right? Like that you may have to work twice as hard to make half as much. That's the reality. I always prepare myself for worst case scenarios. I'm like, do I have to work twice as hard for half as much? Okay, well, I'm fucking ready to do that. And I have a mindset, which is this. And I said this to Joe yesterday. I was like, Joe, there's two options with this recession we're going through. I will die trying, or we're going to fucking crush it. It's one of the two. There's no other option in my head. That's the mindset that I'm going in. So it's like, I will die trying, or we will get through it. And I don't want to die yet. I want to have a long life. You know what I'm saying? That's the mindset. So having to double up on action right now is going to be really, really, really critical. The other thing is, guys, your skills are going to be absolutely paramount. You are going to be having conversations that some of you have never had in your real estate careers with people. You are going to have to counsel people on having realistic expectations. Like a house may not sell in 5 days. It may take 6 months to sell a house, 3 months. You need to have a plan for that. You need to help people ride through their own emotions and some of their own irrational panics and fears, right? So working on your skills, developing processes with your buyers and your sellers, very, very critical. Please start giving feedback. If you're showing a listing agent's properties, start giving them valuable feedback that they can actually tangibly give to their sellers. Start actually reaching out, not just letting your automated system reach out for feedback. Like message an agent, call them. Hey, Ryan, I know you showed my property yesterday on Bird Sanctuary Drive. Can you give me some like just valuable feedback that I could give to my sellers, please? Right? Not just the fluff. Like give me the real goods, the stuff that's helpful. I'll return the favor when I show your properties. But more than ever, you're going to need to go and present information to your clients to help them understand what's going on and where things are at. Your sellers are going to need to hear from you on a regular basis. You can't just get the listing up. Tell them everything that you're doing. Hey, I called 5 agents today. I had conversations with 5 agents. I had 2 inquiries, whatever it is. Every single day, try and have something that you can at least text your client to let them know what you're doing. Every week, have at least a report that summarizes everything that you guys are doing. And then solicit feedback. Make it your goal that you're getting at least 90% feedback on every single showing that happens on your listings. There's always that one ass or that person that won't give you feedback, even if you follow up 2-3 times, but be persistent with that. And understand that this is the same playing field that everybody else in your market is working with. That's the exciting part. It's the same playing field for everybody. It's not like you're at a disadvantage. So understand that. So if you are willing to outwork everybody, you have the mindset that like, I'm going to double down and I'm going to be like that authority in my marketplace. You will come out stronger and better than ever on the other side of this recession. Will it be painful? Will you have some bruises? Absolutely. It's going to be a grueling fight for all of us, but man, it's where like fortunes are built. This is where you really get to find out what you're made of. So get excited about it in a sense, have a mindset where you're like putting positive thoughts in your head and you're focusing on what you can control. Because I cannot control the market, but I can control how I respond to it. I can control how I attack the market, how I attack my day. So that's a little bit of insight into our war room plan that we're kind of working on right now. But I think this is going to be an opportunity where the cream will rise to the top and a lot of people will be exposed. Don't be exposed.
I always
go.
tell my, oh, sorry about that,
Go
Joe.
ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I always tell, like for a seller, I say, we need to be proactive, not reactive. So we need to go out of the gate really with a plan in place, especially now when there's more properties coming on the market and things are sitting longer. You have that one opportunity to make a first impression, get out, what is it? Get ducks in a row, eggs in a row, whatever, get everything in a row and go out and be very proactive. Because, you're going to be up against a lot of other people and there's not a lot of buyers right now, but, there are those homes that are still standing out that are getting those multiple offers.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be one of them.
Yep. And guess what? It's easier than it's been for years to get listings now. It's easy to get listings now because there's urgency, right? A lot of people are like, oh man, I should maybe get my house on the market.
I feel like everybody's like, I noticed last week, so many houses came on. I don't know about your area, but I just feel like everyone's scurrying for that before the next rate hike. But I'm going back to even today prospecting with some potential buyers, and I'm trying to tell them that there is an opportunity here for you. So this was, good to hear that. Give them that information. You're better off coming in now where, you're not going to have to go over 200, 300,000 like you were doing 2 months ago.
Right.
And there's less competition, a lot less competition.
Yeah. It's the market they all wanted to have a year ago.
Exactly. It's here.
It's here.
And letting them know that those rates were once in a lifetime opportunity. They're not realistic rates. They weren't. They're not the norm.
Yep. And more than ever, take the time to make sure your clients know exactly what they qualify for and then help them shop within their means.
I shop rates for them. And I mean, there are, the arms and, there's banks that have, private money you can lend off of. I mean, there's opportunities out there. You just have to find them.
Totally.
Again, being proactive.
Help some of your clients that are panicked and stressed. Like be creative. Like I was having conversations with a couple of my business partners yesterday at Sims and, they're in variable mortgages. And I'm talking about, hey, listen, you need to prepare that you're going to need to spend $500 more a month on your housing payment. It's just a reality, but like prepare now. And I could see the panic in their face a little bit, like, holy crap, like $500, like that's tough. But I'm like, hey, but you know what started happening is they started thinking resourcefully. Well, you know what, if I had to, I could rent out a room to a student. They just started thinking outside the box. And I think this is the kind of stuff that we may have to start getting more creative with our clients too, right? It's just helping them understand that like, listen, we're very lucky in the first world where we live that like, our biggest concern is going to be like, oh my God, I have to tighten up on some of my luxuries. Come on. Right. But there are people in this recession in other parts of the world that it's going to be very, very, very painful. Right. So we just need to become more resourceful. And that's something where you guys help people ride through these things. And create a lot of your content around what you're hearing from your clients. If you're hearing consistently the same kind of stuff from your clients, that's the perfect stuff to create content around. Because now you can literally with a video, get that message out to 500 people that are all thinking that same thing without you having to have five conversations. And then with your strategy of talking to all your past clients and people in your sphere and your A and B list or whatever, they'll be like, yeah, I've been watching your videos, really good stuff. And they'll already be sort of prepared to have more of a conversation with you. So there you go. I went on a rant there, Joe, but I think there's some gold in there.
Yeah, definitely. Right. And I think if there's sort of two things that people can take away, like number one, be omnipresent. right? Be everywhere, be an authority. And if you are making a video, multi-purpose it out, right? To have one video, and that video can also serve as like a TikTok edit, a Facebook edit, an Instagram edit, YouTube. Be omnipresent. Make one video, repurpose the hell out of it. Next, just start talking to people. Anybody that you've ever engaged with, any prospects that you've had, past clients, check in, see how they're doing. People will have genuine concerns and fears. Help be that person that alleviates those. So take those two things away. So a lot of people are going to be holding listings for the long haul, Jay. What is like one really great strategy that you'd recommend people start employing now?
Well, anybody that goes through our listing process, I think there's some gold there, but number one, it all is in your setup with your client. So for example, I have a listing that I took on the other day, just to help out some clients, right? But anyways, I took on the listing. I already had our 10-day conversation booked before we even hit the market. So our 10-day conversation was, hey, 3 scenarios are going to play out, right? We're going to get an offer in the first 10 days. Perfect. We hit the mark. Our marketing worked. That's where we can net the most amount of money. Scenario number 2 that's going to play out is we may actually have, say, 8 or more showings and no offers. I will solicit feedback on every single one of them. So at least I'm armed with information. And that may be a pretty clear indication to us that we may have missed the mark on price. And then third, we get very little activity. Then we definitely know that we missed the mark on price. We're going to take a very close look at our competitors at the 10-day conversation, but like be prepared that if we can do an adjustment, and your wording is very important, we do an adjustment in the price early, it will not punish us the same way that if we wait too long, which is say 30, 45, 60 days, because then it'll be seen as a price correction by the market. Big difference in wording there. Adjustment in price versus a correction. Correction sounds negative and bad. Adjustment is, hey, we need to adjust the price based on the factors that the market's giving us. And we know the market's rapidly moving. And so I got my clients yesterday, they did a $45,000 price reduction on a home, which was a significant drop. But again, like Ryan said, we're getting ahead of the market. We took an analysis of where we were, and we wanted to make sure that we were one of the best, most viable options to be the next sale in our price category, not a house that's maybe ranked 10th or 8th, right? And so guess what? We did that. 4 showings booked in 24 hours. And I've followed up with everybody else that's showed it. There's a couple people on the fence, and hopefully I can get one of them at least off the fence, right? Because what happens is those past showings sometimes are like, I just don't see the value at the price. All of a sudden you get a steep drop and those people come out of the woodwork. So it's the setup and how you're managing it. I've been communicating daily with my clients. Every day they're hearing something from me, in a text. We have a group text with them. They hear from me daily, right? I'm letting them know all the proactive things that I'm doing behind the scenes. And guess what? They don't ever have to sit there and worry, well, what's Jason doing? They're hearing from Jason before even that thought crosses their mind. And guess what? They're like, Jason, thank you. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I see that you're working it. You know what I mean? Give information and be like, don't just run away. Don't hide. I don't care if you had no showings for a week. You need to have a conversation with your client that week and let them know what you're doing. Okay. No more lazy realtoring. No more just like, oh yeah, put it on the market and it sells in a few days and you think you're a really good realtor. Nah, you're not. You just had the benefit of a good market.
You don't think that's like, just a question, like, does that come across like that 10-day conversation up front that maybe, would the sellers take that as, oh, you don't know your pricing strategy, or you're just going in with it as, with the changing market, this is what might happen, and this is why you're having this 10-day conversation with them?
Well, here's the deal. We don't know until we hit the market how the market's going to respond to your house, right? Like
Right.
We're going to control every variable that's in our control, right? We're going to have the home looking at its best, right? We're going to have it marketed beautifully. We're the best when it comes to that. But like how the market reacts to our home and the things that can happen in the next 10 days, like our competitors dropping their prices, new listings hitting the market, all these factors are what we're working against. We're also working against rising interest rates, inflation, news media that's putting fear into people's eyes. Or in their minds. So Eliza, again, those 3 scenarios are going to play out. My goal obviously is to have scenario number 1 play out, but I can't guarantee that because I'm working with you against the market. We're looking at the same data and information together. And I'm
Mhm.
really trying to get you a home run price right now.
Mhm.
But like, we just have to be able to take the feedback and make an adjustment early enough as a team so that we can get your house sold and put the most amount of money in your pocket. Because the longer your house sits on the market, your perception of value does drop over time.
Oh, agree 100%.
Right. So at least this way, worst case scenario, I can bring you evidence, right, that this is where the market's at. But we don't know that until we officially hit the market.
Correct, right.
It's a moving target. It's not like a stagnant price, right? Now, again, 6 months ago, you put a house on the market and you just be within the range and it would sell and you look like a hero and you weren't having these conversations. That isn't going to be the case going forward. Like, you're going to have these conversations.
Right,
So
yeah.
if you don't have these price adjustment conversations set up, you don't have your sellers educated, you're not keeping them up to date on what's going on, they're going to fight you. My clients were like, they wanted to go even lower than what I recommended because I'd prepped them, and it's all in how you do it. And it's an art, but it's also a process, and happy to teach you guys it. And we have it in our Sims library too.
That's what I was going to ask you next. So is it under, what is it under?
Actually, you know what, this piece of because the last 2 years, it's been like more like how to get the listing. And then, you know what I mean? We're actually going to have to do a whole segment on this one, Joe. Like, literally, I'll do the whole how to manage. You've got the listing now. How do you manage it now for the long haul? I'll go through that.
Can I also say one thing, guys?
Please.
Don't be afraid to have a difficult conversation. We're in a difficult time, right? So start it like that, right? Like, honestly speaking, the more honest you are, the more your seller is going to appreciate it, right? I mean, every other realtor that doesn't have a skill set is going to blow fluff up their butt, right? And if you speak real to them, they're going to see through that right away. I often get, I get a lot of progress out of being super honest with people. I mean, I put myself out in front of tens of thousands of people every month, being uber honest with them, right? And when you're honest, like you said, Jason, the words you use are very important. How you craft that conversation is incredibly important, but you have to be honest with them, right?
Well,
you set that expectation up front, and then, it kind of just plays itself out after that, but you have to be honest up front.
I'll quickly just role play it. Like, Ryan, here's the deal. Part of my job sometimes is to give you inconvenient truths versus giving you comfortable lies, which are what you want to hear, but are not reality to where things are at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope you understand that, like, my job is to help you make the best decision so that I can help you net the most amount of money possible for your home. And we work as a team. But if all I do is tell you what you want to hear because it's comfortable for you, is only going to compound the issue later on when your house hasn't sold and you've been sitting on the market and now your perception of value has eroded and the market has moved on you. It's better for me to give you these inconvenient truths now so that you know what we're dealing with, and that I can have a plan A, B, and C along the way so that I can help you navigate this. This is why you hire me. In a market like this, you want skill on your side. You want experience. And that's what I bring to the table.
Exactly.
Comfort. That's what people want. I'm not going to give you the bullshit to just try and get your listing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest with you. And that's what you want. Okay, cool.
Love it. Nice. So the last thing we were going to talk about was corrections versus adjustments, which we just kind of covered as well. So let's open it up. What are some of the things that you guys are struggling with in the changing marketplace?
Or some of the wins you guys are having? How are you getting people to price their homes where they need to and get them on the mark?
I think the wins that I always like to do is just setting up those expectations up front with our clients and just being straight up, and the facts and numbers don't lie. So that's how I like to start the conversations.
Love it. And again, you guys will find your conversations will be taken a lot more seriously as you work on your skills and as you build your communication plan and people are seeing your stuff and consuming your stuff, because they will already know that you're an authority in the space. My first year in real estate, I had to work really hard to get every single listing that I had because I was a nobody at that point, right? I hadn't built that authority. But by year 2 and 3, it was like I was already 90% of the way there. They already knew they wanted to hire me before I walked in the door because I built my authority by them seeing consistently our content and everything else. So again, you guys are only helping yourselves by doing that and becoming that authority in your marketplace.
Definitely.
I'm seeing a lot of sellers. They have a lot more urgency right now. So if you have clients that are thinking about selling, make sure you get on them, because you don't want to wait an extra week, because then it'll probably be listed by another agent. I'm seeing that like people want their properties listed ASAP right now, and you don't really have that 2 week or a month kind of window that you normally would have right now.
And guess what's going to happen, Ryan? When you guys start calling all your past clients and everybody that you've dealt with, you're going to get listings.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're all sitting wondering, well, Ryan, it's funny that you called because we've been thinking and talking and we're not really sure what to do. Great. Well, why don't we book let's have coffee and let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Get in front of your people. Starts with a conversation. Don't let somebody else get the work that you put in, right? Like you develop those relationships, you work with them. Don't let that stuff slip out the back door. Start having conversations, because I promise you, people are sitting at their kitchen tables right now. Honey, what do we do? Is this the right time? Should we wait? Should we panic? And they don't know. And so a lot of them get caught in irrational feelings. And this is where you become that rational, stable person that helps them make the best decision. And it starts by really having the conversation and then understanding them. Cool.
Ryan Dash, did you share our Marina side story?
No, I haven't. Not yet. It's a good story though.
Okay, so yeah, one idea. We've got a nice waterfront listing here in Vancouver, bit of a higher end thing, just over 2 mil, but it's getting activities, but not what the seller wants. And so they start hinting, it's great timing, take it off the market, that kind of thing. And we go, look, in this type of market, as we have lived through it before, we've seen a lot of agents who've had it really good and easy for 2 years not change their MO when the market changes. So they're just like, oh, weird, the phone's not ringing, but they're not working more. And so, of course, we not only doubled down on our work ethic and marketing at this time, but the idea we came up with for this particular listing is, instead of potentially losing it, let's actually grab another agent group that we've worked with before, partner with them on the listing. Yeah, sure, we split everything down the middle, but we're now having all fresh eyeballs on it, a whole new set of marketing. And this guy happens to be Persian and really markets to the Persian market as well. So we kind of open it up further. And so the clients went from like, oh, is this thing ever going to sell, to, oh my goodness, there's a whole new energy in here. These guys clearly aren't selfish with their commissions either. And they're willing to give this building, this unit, like double exposure. And it's going to not only build our relationship with the clients, but our real estate partners here. And ultimately, rather get half of something than nothing of nothing.
And if I could just end on one other thing, we are also working very much on our attraction business, right? So what's one of the best ways to bring big attractors or people who do a lot of volume into your sphere? Partner with them, right? Show them how good you are on your side on the back end. And, people are always wondering, what's it like to do business with, these people on the other side? Or, they've asked me about EXP before, but I don't know if I want to talk about it. Well, why don't we show you, right? Let's invest in ourselves a little bit is really the perspective. It's less about trying to capture all of that commission in one sale and realizing that there's a third, fourth, fifth order consequence that could take place here that's way bigger than this commission or this particular listing.
On that note, I'll end on this, Joe, because I think this is powerful. Start building bridges with other agents, because you're going to need them to sell your properties, right? And because inventory is going to build, you need to do things to get agents through your listings so that it's top of mind when they have a bunch of different options available to them, and start looking for ways to add value to other agents. Stop looking at everybody as a competitor and look at them as somebody that's integral to your business, because you need, on the listing side, you need buyer's agents to bring clients through. And I think the more bridges we build and the more we help other people, I promise you it comes back to you tenfold. It's better to be a collaborator than to be like, oh no, it's me versus you, and keep everything close to your chest. I can assure you, I've proven that over and over. That's been a philosophy from day one from me. And we rose to the top quickly because of it. So look to give value where you can and help people out. Hey, what can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do? Right? Anything you're struggling with, how are you feeling? Start getting out there. If you guys have real estate tours in your market, go in and start inviting different realtors into your car and get to know more people. That's also a really important thing that I would recommend you guys do right now to kind of help you guys through the market, is start building relationships.
Another great thing that you can do is if you've worked with an agent, like whether it's on the buy side, sell side, whatever, go leave them a Google review, right? Show people that you're paying attention, you recognize great service, and you've got a commitment to excellence just like they do.
I gotta have a shower. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Andrew.
Andrew's off having a shower. So
All right. Well, on that note, we're done, Joe. We'll wrap it up. Have a great day, everybody.
later.